Welcome to That's Why We're Friends.
The podcast where we laugh a lot, talk about real life, and hold on to faith through it all.
We're two friends navigating the oldish season of life and celebrating the kind of friendships that make it all a little easier.
So whether you're feeling overwhelmed, hopeful, or just need a laugh, this podcast is for you.
Pull up a chair and join the conversation. Hey, Kara.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, do you remember the first time that you made me Clean Monday ramen?
I do.
I do too, because I was not a ramen person, and you showed me that I could do ramen in a healthy way. And so their gluten-free ramen seasonings and organic noodles are so good. They're totally allergen friendly, and it's finally ramen that we and I can feel good about.
Yes, and seriously, I use the chicken ramen seasoning all the time. And I just ordered their new plant-based vegan protein powder. It is so amazing. It's just 8 clean ingredients, no soy or junk, and it actually tastes amazing.
Right? All of their stuff is gluten-free, dairy-free, non-GMO, and no MSG. So all the things. It's just bold, real food flavor that you can feel good about.
Yeah, we can't stop raving about it at our house. So here's the deal. Everybody who uses our special link with the coupon code CARA, all caps CARA, will get 10% off everything. And you can grab that code in the description of the show notes below.
Seriously, guys, try it. You're going to love it as much as we do. Clean Monday meals, clean ingredients, big flavor, happy you.
Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Kara.
How are you?
I am doing great. Rolling through January. We're having some great conversations here, and I love how it's just motivating me for just, kicking off the year and all the things. How about you?
Yeah. No, I'm doing great too. I do feel like I always think for some reason when the holidays are over that time will move slower. And it actually moves at the same pace, but it still feels like it's going so fast.
Yeah, I mean, there is a sense of, when all of the decorations are down and the house kind of feels empty because you had all these extra things taking up space. And so there is a sense of that where there is space, but it feels like the spaces do quickly get filled in with
well,
things.
And I feel like there's a ramping up too, like going into spring and, and your life was ramping up with work and my life was ramping up with work and it just, it feels like it's just moving on, but I'm enjoying it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I love there is something very sweet to this time of life where you feel confident in who you are and like what God's called you to do and getting to walk in that. It's just, there's a real sweet, just fulfillment and contentment in that I'm super grateful for from the Lord to, 47, know what I want to be when I grow up. It
kind of takes that long to figure it out, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, we've had great conversations here.
Gosh, last week was amazing.
Yeah. Last week with Dr. Brooke was amazing. The week before that, we talked about our why for our health.
Big deal.
So we're here again today with this conversation. We're going to get real and vulnerable. We're going to talk about kind of some hard places we've both hit in our health journeys and just, how the Lord healed those places and how we're moving forward.
Yeah. So that's what, today we have some questions we're going to, ask each other really just for the purpose of kind of sharing our journeys. We both have some pretty long detailed histories when it comes to food and body image and all those things, to then kind of the next week really pull that all together with the healing that has come and how we're still walking that out. And so
so this might be considered our second
kind of a two-parter.
Two-part episode. We did that back in October with our desert seasons.
Wow, I could not have said what month that was. I would have just said we did that back last year.
One time. Yeah, I mean, no, it was in October. Okay. Remember, it was like we were kind of excited. It was our first two-parter. Yes. Yeah, so this one will be a little bit of a continuation too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So, but we're ready to move forward and kind of give you guys a piece of our backstory and just, the types of food issues we've dealt with in our lives, body image issues too, but a lot of those stem from a food issue, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they usually go together.
Yeah, they do. They're very tied hand in hand for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So our first question that we're going through is, what is the earliest memory that you have of thinking about your body? Do you have a good answer for that?
About my body, specifically about my body, separated from food, my earliest memory was middle school, when a boy told me that I chewed like a cow. And I know that seems silly because it's like my face, it's not, my body, but I remember that whole entire year I didn't eat lunch in the cafeteria after that, because I was like, well, I don't need any boys looking at me. And it was a boy I liked, of course. So, I was like, okay, well, I can't eat in front of anyone. And so that, was a body thing for me. I think my next one regarding specifically my body was another boy, just, talking
boys.
about boys, middle school and high school boys specifically. They say things that they have no idea the detriment it does to girls' health, mental health. But him talking about, do you remember, I don't know what they were called. There were these pants that were like super loose and flowy and
like jams? Like
kind of
cotton, or like
they
the
were
athletic?
cotton. No, they were cotton, but I don't think they were specifically jams, but anyway, I was wearing those pants.
Like the MC Hammer one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So were those
jams? Were the shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were
parachute pants?
They weren't parachute. They were cotton, but they were definitely like flowy and a little bit balloony.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
MC Hammer pants.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would call them too. MC Hammer pants. That's a great description. I think people who are listening in their oldest years know exactly.
Too legit to quit.
Yeah. You remember it all. But you can't remember what we talked about in October.
Nope.
Anyway, I was wearing pants like that, and this boy told me that my butt jiggled when I walked. And I mean, I was definitely a healthy, fit, active teenager, and so it was just like, okay, never wearing those pants again, which was my entire wardrobe. I don't know what I did, but I was just always like squeezing my butt cheeks or something.
Wow.
Trying to keep my butt from jiggling. So yeah. What about you?
Yeah, it's so funny how to have such just a clear answer to this question. So my earliest memory I have of thinking about my body was 6th grade. And my mom had a scale in her bathroom, which that's not a bad thing. But for whatever reason, I remember when the first time I weighed myself on that scale in 6th grade. And I don't remember what the number was, but I remember it was less than 100. And, when you understand food stuff and body stuff, the idea of control, and my life there was a lot of chaos in my life, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. But I remember just so strongly grabbing a hold of, it's less than 100 pounds and it cannot be more than 100 pounds. Like, just, I don't know why, just this idea of this wanting to control that number immediately. Like, wait, I can't weigh more than 100 pounds.
And you're 6th grade, you said 6th grade, right? So you're 11.
Yeah.
Like, you don't understand that your body, as turning into a woman, is going to weigh more than 100 pounds.
Who was destined to be 5 foot.
Right.
But I certainly didn't tell, I just remember, it's like I can, picture that bathroom, picture the scale just so clearly. And then the other one would be a year later. I think I've mentioned this on a podcast before, of doing Spirit Squad.
Yes.
And
your shoes.
Going, and they measured my feet and I was like a 9.5. And just for whatever reason, just being just humiliated, devastated, like just, bigger feet than my mom. And I was probably taller than her at that point, because I hit 5'8" in middle school and just kind of stayed there. But those are the two earliest memories that are just so clearly, quote unquote, big is bad. And I don't want to be big. I don't want the big number. I don't want the big feet. That was kind of the messaging, that for some reason it was like, big is bad and I'm big.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Right. I know, 6th grade.
Yeah, 6th grade. So do you remember as you were growing up that you felt like there were these like subliminal messages in your life from family or friends or sports, church? Like, was there anywhere that you got these subliminal messages about your body?
Kind of. But again, it was more, so it's what, I don't do this because I'm very careful not to do it when talking to kids that I'm seeing growing up, girls specifically, that when I see them and it's been a minute, that I don't ever say, oh my gosh, you've gotten so big.
Right.
Now, is it wrong to say that? I'm not saying it's wrong to say that.
Yeah.
But because I already had all these things, then every holiday season, every time I'd see family, and because I did end up being taller, then that was such a common thing that was said. Oh, you've gotten so big. And again, that is not, I'm not saying those family members were wrong.
Right,
that's, you know,
it's a normal thing.
That's a normal thing to say. But I just remember always hearing that. And then the messaging that it was, you know, just continuing to, you know, repeat and build in my brain was, I am big. And again, the connotation I had agreed with in my brain was big was bad. And so I would say that, you know, again, it wasn't that it was a negative message. That would probably be the only one. I mean, obviously messages from culture are, again, big is bad. You know, the 80s and the 90s, you know, big diet culture and all the exercising, and, you know, that's when things,
SnackWells.
Yeah, SnackWells and Slim Fast and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, nothing super specific other than just the general things that I think most people hear and experience, especially in that season. What about you?
Well, I remember as a child, I have a cousin who's my same age, and we were like sisters growing up. You know, we were together all the time, and she was a lot smaller framed than I am, like a lot smaller. And I just remember her, when we would play hide and seek, saying things like, you're bigger than me because you can't fit into like these hiding spaces. And I always remember thinking, like, it kind of hurt me that she would say that. Now, she was a child, and she wasn't intentionally trying to say things to make me feel bad about myself. I think those were messages she got, you know. I mean, to the defense of moms of our generation, they were taught, like, smaller is better. And there was always this keep your girlish figure, you know, there was always this diet. And so anything we say about moms that are like, you know, women who are 25, 30 years ahead of us, it's not a slam on them.
No.
It's just that was their culture of the age in which they were living. And so then those messages, not knowing how damaging those were to their girls, got passed on, right? And so I think her mom probably said things about, you know, being skinny or being little and how good it was to be, you know, a smaller woman. And she was, and they both were just small framed women. And I come from a family of women that aren't, you know, we're bigger. And so I just, those messages of like, you can't fit into the hiding space, which is funny because you think like, that's so childish, but it was a big deal to me. Right. And so that's the first like messaging I remember of, your body is bad because you can't fit into a small hiding space when we play hide and go seek. So that meant a lot to me, right? And I remember always like measuring our wrist. Did you do that with a tape measure? Like it was like, if your wrist is this, then you're small boned. If your wrist is this, you're large boned. Like, you know, and I always kind of hoped that I would be the large boned girl so that I didn't have to like make up excuses for why my body was bigger than everyone else.
I'm big boned.
I'm big boned. So, Funny. Do you feel like growing up in your home, food was viewed as like comfort? Was it a control mechanism? Was, you know, food used for celebration or emotional? Like how was food viewed in your home?
Kind of all the things. It was, you know, single mom that worked. And so there's just, you know, realities to that. And I think the culture in general at that time was moving towards convenience when it came to food. And so it was, I would say it was a bit of a roller coaster. My mom did about, you know, her weight was something that she was always working towards and working out. And, you know, we did the Slim Fast stuff and we did the SnackWell stuff. And we also then, you know, ate a lot of fast food. So it definitely, I think what started to kind of be developed in my mind was this like good or bad.
Yeah.
That this is what it looks like to be good. This is when we're being good. And I'm doing this Slim Fast and I'm, which, oh my gosh, awful. Like have a shake for breakfast and lunch. And it's so like starve yourself.
And a sensible
basically.
dinner is what it said on the commercial.
Shockingly, like, oh my gosh, I'm losing weight. Well, no kidding. So I think that is the messaging that really got developed was like, this is what it looks like when we're being good. And then here's what we're going to go be bad. And like, so I think that is probably what my big takeaway was. And then anytime there was something outside of the norm, whether it was like a party or, holidays, then it's just like, okay, like all the training wheel or whatever, the guardrails are off and we're going to be real bad.
Yeah.
And so just this very kind of, compartmentalized, siloed, over here we're going to be this and over here we're going to be this, and so very just kind of a disjointed but clear good and bad type.
Yeah I don't know that for me it was like a clear good and bad, although eventually I developed this theology of food and like good and food. Some foods are good and some foods are bad, which is really bad theology, by the way.
And that I'm good when I eat the good foods and I'm bad when I eat the bad foods.
That's a huge part of my story. But my mom grew up living, I wouldn't call it on a farm, but they did a lot of farming. So they grew a lot of their own food. And so my mom always valued good food in that respect, just because she enjoyed the taste of it, not because she had the science or knowledge to back up like this is better for you than other things. So we did eat on a consistent basis throughout the week, good, healthier options with lots of vegetables. And, I don't honestly remember protein, but I'm sure it was there. I'm sure we were having chicken or fish or whatever. But I just always remember my mom always exposing me to new vegetables, which I love vegetables still to this day. But I do also remember a lot of the fast food, a lot of the, good or bad, like we're going to do this all or nothing way of thinking and we're going to do these Slim Fast shakes, or we're going to do Weight Watchers, or, eating an entire package of Snackwells cookies, like an entire package at one sitting.
But they're healthy.
Because they were fat free. So, or about half a bag of marshmallows because they're fat free. So yeah, I think, for me, it was kind of this like back and forth juggle too, of, food. There was like this message that was unspoken, but it was clear.
Yes. No, I resonate with that. Was there a moment for you that you ever had the thought or realized that your body was being observed by other people?
Yeah. So not so much that my body was being observed, but there was a moment in which I realized that the world applauds you for what your body looks like. And that was when I was probably 8 or 9. My mom, there was what was called a 3-day hospital diet floating around our church. And so my mom decided to do this diet, and it very specifically laid out exactly what you were to eat at breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay.
It was like, I don't remember, a piece of toast with like 1 egg or something for breakfast.
Like, it just, Jell-O? Is that why it's a hospital diet? Is
I
Jell-O
know.
on it?
I don't know why it was called a hospital diet. I'm sure
because you end up in the hospital after you do it for 3 days.
You end up in the mental hospital for sure. So anyway, it very specifically listed what you could eat.
Okay.
But I wanted to do this diet with my mom because at the end of every day, you got to have ice cream. It's the dumbest diet ever. But the first day,
it makes me want to
clearly remember. Well, what's funny, I have a copy of it.
Oh, no way.
Yes, I found a copy of it when I started doing what I do now because I was like, I have to have this for research. Yes. So I found a copy of it. It's down in my pantry if you'd like to see it. Wow. But the first day, you got to eat 1 cup of vanilla ice cream after your dinner. Okay. And then the second and third day, you ate a half a cup. Now, what you were supposed to do the other 4 days of the week, I have no idea. I don't know if there's any guidance anywhere in the world regarding those other 4 days. But for 3 days, you were supposed to eat like this. Okay. And I wanted to do this diet because my mom was doing it, and you would get ice cream. And I was all about the ice cream.
For sure.
So, we like obeyed the rules. And that was the first time I realized that, like, if you could obey the rules of diet culture, the world would praise you. And, you know, as a kid, did I lose weight? I have no idea. Like, what happened? I don't even know if my mom lost weight. Probably because the food situation was stupid. Like, you were eating, I mean, I bet if you ate 1,000 calories in a day, it was like, that's probably a lot.
Wow.
So, you know, I just think that that's where I sort of felt like the world would praise you if you could look a certain way.
Yep.
Yeah. What about you?
Mine, I think, was really tied to the size things and like just the comparison. I had a sweet girlfriend who kind of similar. I mean, she was a little bit shorter than me, like, you know, smaller framed than me. But I do remember being able to like wear some of her clothes. And because I viewed her as smaller than me, then that was like the praise of like internally, like that I can wear something of hers. Okay, well then that means I'm good, like, because I'm small like her. Not, you know, I don't remember. It's not like it was like a headband, it's like a skirt or something. But so I remember that definitely got deeply ingrained in me, that there was a lot of worth tied to fitting in a certain size. And then I think probably in that season, the pattern also started of, because this would have been moving into, you know, middle school, high school, of hanging on to something or maybe even buying something that didn't really quite fit the way that it should. But if I lose 5 pounds and like, and having, and, you know, then for decades living that way, having stuff in my closet that didn't fit today, but it could, and we'll talk about that later. But that really, I remember all, because I can picture the skirt actually now. I think I have a picture of me in it, and just how that made me feel on the inside that I could wear something of hers, because in my eyes she was small because she was shorter than me, but and I was big. So just it's crazy how early all of that starts.
It is. Yeah, you're right. Those messages get implanted in our hearts and they stick with us for years. And it's the story we have to unwind, you know, and we have to, like we talked about early in January, we have to invite God into that space and let him heal those places, you know. But I think, you know, for both of us, the food and body image issue definitely continued through high school and college. So for you, what was your relationship with food, you know, in high school and college?
Yeah, unfortunately, it only got worse. A girl I went to high school with, I remember one time, it's so funny because it was just, seemed like a casual conversation with a bunch of us girls. And it was just kind of casually brought up that every once in a while, if she felt like she ate too much, she made herself throw up. And I remember just kind of like, that this was like brand new information. Like, I never thought about that. Like, and again, you know, not her fault. Like that was her struggle at the time, but with where my heart was at the time, I thought that was like a tool in my tool belt. It's so just like, it's heartbreaking to think about now. But then that eventually I started, you know, experimenting with that. And, you know, that's really when kind of the on again, off again relationship with bulimia and anorexia really began with me. I was definitely trying to control it, but then the bulimia part then felt like kind of a get out of jail free card. If I don't do a good job, you know, with the anorexia, then I can undo it. And so just I had a very, very, very unhealthy relationship and mindset with food in high school and in college. And unfortunately, the thing with college, when you go away somewhere, is now you have even more space where you're not observed because you're not in a home, you know, with your family. And so the freedom and the ability to walk in those, you know, extremely unhealthy patterns kind of opens up to you. And so it for me just significantly got worse while I was in college, and just kind of became the normal way that I did food. So super restrictive up until the point that then binging and purging, and just the cycle
Yeah, I know. I was the same way of a lot of binging and then super restrictive. Mine really, I can look back and say that mine started with that hospital diet, but then there was a time right after, it was very soon after that, that we had a family event, like probably a holiday, that our larger extended family was together. And one of my aunts had made a dessert called Mississippi Mud. Have you ever had that? It's
Maybe.
I don't know. I can't remember what all's in it, but I mean it's this layered kind of, pudding and cookies and things.
Sounds
And
great.
yeah, it was great actually. But I remember like my cousin and I had eaten some, and then we were playing, like dinner was over, but the desserts at my grandparents' house stayed on this buffet. And they sort of just stayed there as many days as we were there, and like they would just recover them and whatever. And so I remember she and I went back to get some more of that. And my aunt came in and saw us, and she was like, "You girls don't need any more sugar. Like, go play." But I wanted that Mississippi Mud. Like, I wanted it so bad. And so later, when I don't know where everyone was, but nobody was around. I don't know if my cousin had left for the night because they lived closer. So I snuck in there and I got some, and I went into a closet and ate it.
Wow.
And that was like my first episode of hiding food. And so those two things to me were sort of like the start of my trajectory of food issues. But moving into high school, I was on the dance team. I had weigh-ins every week. I don't know if your dance team had that.
No, I remember the first time you told me that. I was shocked.
Yeah.
Because no, we did not.
Oh, yeah. We had to weigh
weigh-ins.
in, and I mean, I'm tall. And so, there's these weight charts,
Yeah.
which are so stupid. No one should be following a weight chart anymore. We've figured out those are bad.
Yes.
Right. But when I was in high school, that was the standard, the weight chart. And I always fell right at the upper number of my height and where I should be for weight. And so I just remember, like, for 4 days out of the week, I would just binge and gorge and eat everything I wanted. But the 3 days leading up to weigh-in, I would literally starve myself so that my number, and I mean, I danced 3 to 4 hours a day. I was a perfectly healthy teenager,
Sure.
except for, I mean, I did eat a lot of like candy bars and things, which aren't the best for your cells, but but I would just starve myself. And so for me, that relationship just sort of continued into this like binge restrict cycle. I do feel very blessed that God kept me from ever purging. I think because I hate throwing up so much that I couldn't make myself do it. There were times I tried and I just couldn't get there. But now I look back and think what a blessing. At the time, I thought I was actually like a disappointment because I couldn't make myself, But I definitely had disordered eating, and that I would just binge and restrict and binge and restrict and, do these crazy sort of things with my food. And so that continued for me, through early, well, I don't know if your 30s is still early adulthood, but that's about when God got a hold of my heart on the whole food issue. So yeah, I just kept going. And I feel like, diets and fads and over exercising and under eating, those things all fall.
Yeah.
like-
all in that same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever came out. I mean, I told you this. I remember one time I ordered from some magazine like these drops that were some kind of plant something, and you like put these drops in your water and drink those and you'll lose weight. And the low carb thing really, so this would have been late 90s. The low carb thing really started, and so I jumped all into that because it was like, okay, well, I can eat all of this bucket that I want.
Yep.
And then just not have any. And so I thought that was the greatest thing ever invented because of the feeling of like, well, I can have all I want of this.
Yeah.
And so, that was not good. Anything that I saw that I could try, I definitely tried.
Yeah. Same for sure. I remember doing, a diet with my husband once, I think probably late 20s, and you got points for the day. And I remember being so frustrated that he got so many more points than I did, because obviously he's a man and he's bigger. But I would use literally half my day's points just to eat a bag of Skittles, and I would skip a meal, to do that. And so all the trends, all the fads, all the snack wells, all the fat free.
Yes.
And then it became like, well, you need some fat. And so only buy the like medium fat items and,
Right.
and yeah, it's
Low fat.
Well, yeah, low fat.
Yeah.
Right. Because we went no fat, then it was
Right.
like low fat, and then I know the trends.
Goodness gracious.
How much do you feel like attaching your worth and your value of who you were had to do with like what you thought your size was and what you thought that the world viewed your weight and appearance as?
Yeah, for me, there was no distinction. It was all, if I can be this size and whatever. And I don't even know where I was getting the basis for that from, as far as like, it was always just smaller than I currently was. Like, and so I don't know what that was based on to say that it was compared to like a specific person, but it was just where I was never right or good.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it baffles me when I think back on it, because obviously I look at, pictures and like I said, I was, healthy, normal, like teenager and young adult. But it was just this belief that I was never good enough or thin enough or, disciplined enough, and just always failed at this, impossible cycle that I kept myself in. And so I did some, this is going to sound like, there's a place here in downtown Dallas that's like a clothing market.
Okay, yeah.
Where you can go and they hire models, like live models or whatever, to like wear the clothes for these shows. And so I did that a couple of times and really enjoyed it. But like modeling was something, because I was kind of tall at one point, thought I might want to do.
Sure.
And being 5'8" really isn't, where you're going to end up doing that. But I did do some things like that, modeling, like little things here and there. And that certainly didn't help.
Yeah.
Just because, again, that whole industry is about what's on the outside and, whether in the comparison then, because there were always girls that were there that were smaller than me. And so that definitely didn't help. But I would say my identity and my worth and my value there, I don't think there was anything else that they were tied to at that point for me. That was it. If I was a certain size, or if I fit in this particular pair of jeans, or if I had eaten really well that day, then I was good. All of those things then made me feel good, look good. I was good. And then any of those things are off. Those pants don't fit this day, or I ate pizza last night for dinner, then like now I'm going to be bad until I had enough time goes by that I can be good for long enough that now I am good.
Yeah.
So it was an awful way to live.
Yeah. No, that was definitely exactly my story too. It was just like, I would do the same thing and just like eat bad, or what I considered bad. Right. And I would just like, okay, I have to be good now.
Right.
And I actually tied that not only to my worth, but to how God saw me. Like I truly, if I would go on a binge, I wouldn't actually pray or read my Bible until I behaved in my food. What I considered behaving, I would just be like, I can't go before God because I did this bad thing. And so if I can behave long enough, then I can go before him again. And what's crazy about that to me is that I knew my salvation was through grace alone, not through works. But yet I still had this mentality of I have to work just to walk into his presence, And so for me, it was not only tied to my, like what I thought my worth and value was, but it was tied to whether or not I thought I was good enough just to walk into God's presence, as if I could ever do anything to make me that good, right? And not live under the righteousness of Jesus, but like under the righteousness of Snackwells. So it's like that, just that bad cycle of living in that guilt and shame of constantly feeling like my worth was tied to, my body or my food.
Absolutely. So when you look back and think about, that journey in those places, Have you ever thought through, or if you think about it right now, of thinking about where God was in those seasons with you?
Yeah, no, I actually haven't thought about it in that way, the way you just asked the question, but I can say I know he was there for sure. I don't think that he wasn't there. I just think that through fallen humanity and this messed up world that we live in, children take in information and they see it so skewed because they don't understand the full picture of it. I think that that's really what happened in my life, is that as a child and a teenager, I just took in this information and I believed that, my value and identity were tied to what people were saying and the behavior and the rules, versus knowing that my identity and value are tied to Jesus. And I also think that in our culture is a newer way that we're sort of bringing up this next generation of like, hey, your identity is fully in him.
Yes.
Now, had I have read the Bible fully and understood it, as a child or teenager, I think I would have, but I grew up, and nothing against Baptist churches, certainly, because they're amazing. But that's what I grew up in, was a very conservative Baptist church. And I heard about grace all the time, but I never saw grace lived out. It was still like you still had to obey the rules. And so I think for me, that just translated over to food and, what my body looked like. Was like, there's these standards and rules that if I can't obey them, then I'm not worthy of being loved. So, yeah. Do you feel like God was present in your thoughts about your food and body image when you were younger?
No. And obviously, I think that was like the big problem. I think the searching for my identity, having a little bit of church experience in and out, but never really having a long term, like, foundation or example of like what that looks like day in and day out. And I don't think we talked about identity the same way. I don't know, I wasn't like super in the church, so I can't say what we talked about or didn't talk about. But just the concept of identity, I was just totally adrift when it came to that. And so my worth again was tied up in that, but also in male attention and relationships from guys. That was definitely part of that too, because if I wasn't in a relationship, then obviously it was because I wasn't pretty enough or thin enough or looked good enough. And so all of that just kept me, spinning and spiraling. Obviously I know that he was with me. I know that there were protective things that he was doing in my life to keep me from going to certain places or, past certain points. Yeah. And I definitely think there were people along the way that were planting seeds, and that it was just of me getting to the end of myself. And so I do feel and obviously know that he was with me in that journey, and that it was just a matter of time for me to get to the end of myself, to really reach out to him, to kind of come up out of this just impossible cycle that I had myself in.
Yeah.
So.
What do you feel like for you coming out of that? What was there a pivotal moment that something happened, like a light bulb clicked in your head, or was it a series of events that God brought you to?
So there actually was one moment, and it was when I had gone back to church. I would have been 23-ish, and was working at a place where there were other believers that worked there. I didn't, know them well at all, but was getting to know them. And I was serving at my church with high school students, and we had a beach retreat coming up over the summer. And one of the other, I think we were called trainers. I don't know what we were called. The people that led like the high school students. One
Chaperone.
of the other, something. One of the other leaders like that, it wasn't a staff member, but a leader. He and his wife in their life were personal trainers. Oh. So fitness was very much what they were into. And so leading up to this beach retreat, they had sent out this thing for everybody to like do this kind of, nutrition workout plan to like get ready to
beach body.
Yeah. To have a beach body
ready.
To do the beach retreat. And man, I just grabbed a hold of that and was like, oh, I'm in. And so, another girl that worked there. So basically what that meant was for lunch one day I was eating cottage cheese. Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, I hate cottage cheese. It's disgusting. I don't understand why that exists, how it came to be, and who decided when it came to be that it shouldn't just be thrown out and never spoken of again. It's garbage.
But you ate it, and I bet you told yourself it was good. I bet you thought, I can do this. This isn't that bad.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can do this for 30 days.
Because those are the lies we tell ourselves. Oh my gosh.
And so I remember this coworker asking, like, why are you eating that for lunch? And so I told her, and I'll never forget, and she was a believer, and she just very generally like, well, why do you need to do that? To like, why can't you just go like how you are, like as you are? Why? And it was
sounds like a song that they play at the end of church services.
Yeah, I know.
Come as you are.
And I remember it was one of those kind of dumbfounded moments of just like, I don't understand the words that you're saying. Like, I don't think that's an option. Like, I don't think you know what you're talking about, because I don't think that's like, this is how you live. Like, this is, how we exist. But it was the first time that I ever thought, like, you mean I could just go like how I am today, and it was just one of those moments where it feels so like silly and dumb trying to like explain it, but it was just like an opening in my mind of like, what if I'm just good with how I am today, and I don't have to do this ridiculous, awful thing for the next 30 days? What if I could just enjoy my life for the next 30 days and go on this beach retreat and love these, high school girls? And that was the beginning. It was a long journey from that point, but that was the beginning of the Lord saying, hey, like, what if there's another way to do this? And the feeling of freedom, even just the tiniest little possibility that was real, I wanted more of that. And I mean, and like I said, it was a journey then to continue to walk that out over the next several years. Yeah. But that was the moment that I ever had this thought of like you're telling me there could be another way, like, yes, like if there's another option, yes, please, like, I want that. And so that was big moment. So thank you, Destiny, because that was her name, and that was huge for me.
Do you still have a relationship with her? Do you know where she's at?
No. Gosh, no. That was like almost 25 years ago. I don't even remember her last name.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
But I could like, if I could draw you a pic. Like, I could pick her out of the lineup. I remember like what she looks like. I could probably find her just through mutual friends that I still have. That,
as a side note, I can't wait to get to heaven and like see the people that have just been those little, like, here's a sprinkle of God in your life, and then they're gone, as fast as they came.
It was. I mean, I probably knew her for less than 6 months. Like, I've never really thought about it like that, but I literally probably knew her for less than 6 months.
That's awesome.
But she was. I mean, that moment was pivotal.
Yeah, so that's great.
Grateful for that. What about for you?
For me, it was sort of a culmination of events. I got really, really sick, and I was very sick for 3 years, and found out that I had some food allergies and had to sort of just change the way I ate because of the food allergy side of it. And so in searching for, things I could eat to not feel sick, I was finding like different recipes and stuff. And I remember I had made a recipe for these paleo chocolate chip cookies, and they were really good. But I think the recipe, maybe made like 24 or something. And I remember I made them, my kids ate a couple after dinner, my husband ate a couple. And then when it was like time to go to bed and I was going to go put those away, more than half of them were gone. And it hit me that I was the one that he had eaten like all of these cookies. And I thought, oh, there might be a problem here. Like in my life, I think I had never put together the binging as a problem. I did know that like the binging and restricting, that I was good or bad. But I think so many people around me talked about like binging as though it was normal, that it was normal.
Yeah.
And it was like there was this moment in my head where I was like, oh, something actually, this might not be okay. There's something wrong with me eating a healthier version of a cookie and thinking I can eat almost the whole batch. And so I struggled for years with this shame about my food. But I remember in that same season of like getting well from being actually sick, where I was changing my food and I was beginning to learn like what healthier options looked like for me, that one morning I was reading in Romans 8, and you know that passage talks about how there's no condemnation. And I remember when I read this verse, there is therefore now no condemnation to those who are in Christ Jesus, who do not walk according to the flesh but according to the Spirit. I remember God literally said to me, if there's no condemnation, why do you feel so condemned? And because I would wake up every day and think, oh, what did I eat the night before? And people would be disgusted with me for how I eat. And, you know, this whole hiding from God thing when I wasn't being good, quote unquote, you know, and he was like, why do you feel condemned? If my spirit is alive in you, which it most definitely is, and I knew it was, then what is it about your life that's making you feel condemned? And he just brought to light that like that condemnation was not from him, that it was from the enemy. And it literally was this light bulb that went off in my head. And I had this awakening to, oh my goodness, I can actually choose to walk in the Spirit and not in the flesh. And I can still get to enjoy foods I like and not feel like I have to be restricting and not feel like I have to binge on them, because I don't need to eat 20 cookies thinking I'm never going to eat a cookie again.
Exactly.
I can actually eat 2 cookies and know that tomorrow I can eat 2 more.
Yeah.
And that for me was like the switch. Was just that moment of waking up and being like, oh, wait, I do walk in the Spirit. So why don't I live like I walk in the Spirit? I live like I'm walking in the flesh.
Right.
Which can't be reality if the Spirit's alive inside of me. So there's always going to be this battle right inside of me. And so for me, it was just like I was sick, I was getting well, but it was more than physical getting well. The Lord was like, I'm going to use this to actually heal your mind and your soul too around food.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that is a great kind of recognition, but also kind of stopping point that we want to jump into next week.
Yeah.
Which is the mental side of it, because like where we started our conversation today, it started in our minds.
Yeah.
It started with the ungodly beliefs,
right.
the things that we heard, the things that we then said to ourselves. So then it only makes sense that the way God is going to come in and heal that is also going to be through our minds. Right. Which is what you and I both experienced. Even just those aha moments were new revelations that we had, that he gave us in our minds, that we were able to grab a hold of and continue to take steps. And it didn't happen overnight. I think that's one of the big things that we want to make sure. It's like that day that I had that conversation with Destiny, I didn't wake up the next day and it was all over. I started a journey that I'm still on, that has had tons of healing and victory and freedom. But it's a journey because of the way that we are on this earth. Like, you know, we have to eat, we have to consume. And so the invitation to, you know, have a certain kind of relationship with food in our bodies, it may always be something that's there, and that's okay. But the stories do matter, and each person's story matter, and God cares about each of our stories.
That's right.
And for those of us who maybe haven't had those moments yet of the light bulb, like God wants to give that to each and every person who's walking that journey. He has that moment of learning and revelation for us, and so it's inviting him in and asking him to speak to us, which is our hope and prayer for everybody that's listening, is that God wants to come in and talk to you about this too.
Right. Yeah, because everybody's story matters, right? And God wants to redeem what has been stolen from us by the enemy. So, we're excited to move forward and get to talk to you guys next week about the rest of it.
Yeah.
And
freedom.
Freedom, and how the Lord has walked with us into that freedom and healed our minds.
Yeah.
But as we close up, what are you looking forward to this week?
Well, I will say real quick, I do want to point back to the freebie thing that we kind of talked about a couple weeks ago. Because there's 2 of them this month. One is just kind of a really quick, easy goal setting guide that talks about your why.
Yeah.
And so I think that can continue to be good with the conversation that we're having. And then the other one, and they really kind of go well together, is the practicing, of stillness and silence and solitude, because those are those places where then we can invite the Lord in.
Right.
And be able to kind of hear what he's saying, invite him into that conversation.
Right.
So
yeah,
go to our website, go to the freebies tab and download those. But I would say for me this week, we have a couple of times a year at our church, and they gather all the leaders and we kind of get to come and hear some. Well, first of all, we had just great worship, which is always a part of, I feel like, everything that we do at our church. And so we get to worship and then really kind of hear our leadership speak to then the leaders of the church. It really sets the tone for the year of kind of, the vision that they have. And so we get to do that this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. That's what I've got, that's kind of my big thing this weekend. And I always look forward to getting able to sit next to you, and we get in trouble a lot. I feel like
a lot of times I see Jeff's head like popping down and kind of giving me the stink eye.
Yeah.
And then I usually point at you and blame you and say that you did something. It's never my fault.
Well, and I think our friend that normally sits behind us at church will also be at this leader summit, and she actually kind of gets us in trouble, but then she corrects us at the same time.
I'm glad that you noticed that, because I noticed that too.
She plays devil's advocate a little bit. Yeah. But what I'm super excited about that leader summit is the scripture memory they're going to give us.
Yes.
I really look forward to getting to know what we get to memorize each semester. So that's what I'm excited about this week.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next week.
Yes.
Go enjoy the life that God's given you.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for spending time with us today on That's Why We're Friends.
We hope you laughed, felt encouraged, and are walking away with a little more hope for your day.
If you love this episode, make sure to follow the podcast so you never miss what's next.
And share it with a friend who needs a little encouragement, because that's why we're friends.
Some products or services we mention may be paid promotions. Any advice shared should be confirmed with a qualified professional. Our conversations and opinions are meant for encouragement and entertainment only.